Welcome to this ATA Insights webinar. Thank you for your ongoing interest and support of our webinar program. Today's session will begin in 2 minutes. ATA Insights Webinars is an online platform for the dissemination of professional renewable energy knowledge across international borders. Our aim is to democratize access to information, for innovation to spread faster, and to make the industry more competitive. And we do this through our online sessions, open to all our members. Every year we do more than 100 sessions with over 250 speakers, 50,000 attendees from more than 50 countries. To participate in the session today, use the chat on the right-hand side to introduce yourself, your company, and where you're joining from. Under the screen, you will find the Q&A box, where you can send your questions for the speakers. We will get to as many as we can today. We're recording this session, and we will send you a link to the materials in a few days. Please consider supporting our content creation for the webinar program. Contact us on the email on screen.
Hello, and welcome to Scaling Asset Management, Digital Solutions for Renewable Energy Growth, hosted by QBI Solutions. We are thrilled to have you join us today as we explore how digitization can help drive efficiency and enhance scalability within your asset management team. The rapid growth across solar, wind, storage, and other novel renewable energy technologies over the past decade has brought challenges in managing these increasingly complex assets. The rise in storage and hybrid plants has driven the need to manage vastly larger data sets, spanning differing technologies with unique requirements, timelines, milestones, and KPIs. With new and more complex projects coming online every day, it is critical that the handoff process be as efficient and streamlined as possible, while ensuring that all requirements and deadlines are met without fail. Rapid growth within these organizations has stretched thin already overtasked teams and driven a need to find and onboard talent from outside of the renewable energy industry. With these new and inexperienced team members comes an increasing need for standardization across an asset management organization and the creation of a strong set of best practices. So how can an organization set itself up for success? Our guest today will share how digitization has helped them address these challenges and more. With us today are Ricardo Fabre, Senior Vice President of Asset Operations at MN8 Energy, and Alejandro Crespo, Co-founder and Chief Technology Officer at QBI Solutions. Ricardo has spent about 12 years in senior roles within the renewable energy industry, with previous roles as Head of Technical Operations and Due Diligence at Terraform Power and Director of Due Diligence at Solar City, before joining Goldman Sachs Renewable Power as their Head of Asset Operations. Alejandro spent about 6 years at SunEdison as their Head of Reporting and Analytics before leaving to start QBI Solutions in 2017, and has served as Chief Technology Officer at QBI for the past 7 years. My name is Ethan Ehlers, and I will be your host today. Prior to joining QBI at the beginning of this year, I spent about 7 years working at Also Energy, providing monitoring and control hardware and software solutions within the renewable energy industry. Between the three of us is over 30 years of renewable energy experience and expertise, specifically within the asset management software space. We will spend the next 45 minutes or so discussing in detail how digital solutions, specifically QBI Solutions business management software, can be leveraged to overcome these challenges and drive increased revenues and efficiency within an asset management team, with time for questions set aside at the end of this webinar. Please utilize the Q&A functionality within Zoom to submit and upvote any questions you may have during the session, and we will do our best to address them all at the end of the session and in a post-webinar follow-up email sent to all participants. For those of you viewing live on YouTube, please utilize the comments to submit your questions, and our webinar partner will ensure that they are visible within Zoom. Alejandro, can you kick us off today with a brief introduction and overview of the QBI Solutions platform?
Sure. Thank you, Ethan, first of all, for the introduction, and a warm welcome to everyone joining us today. In this heterogeneous situation described by Ethan, with different technologies, PV, wind, storage, hydrogen. Now we are even also working with chargers for electric vehicle, and multiple systems involved. Many challenges appear. We have detected that most of the companies in the sector are already what we in QBI call datalized, but not fully digitalized. And this happens in one way or another, even among the biggest players in the industry. What do we mean by this? Well, it's quite common to see organizations having a huge volume of data, but this data often remains isolated within silos. You have the technical data, time series, coming from many first or second level SCADAs or monitoring systems. You have the O&M information coming from tickets, living in one or several CMMS systems, satellite information, financial models and budgets, actuals coming from one or again several ERPs or accountancy systems, pool prices and forecasts, health and safety incidents, documents of many types like permissions, invoices, contracts, that include critical information like penalties or relevant dates. So the main challenge is not just in having the data, but in efficiently integrating, normalizing, linking, and utilizing this data to make operational and strategic decisions based on accurate information. So at QBI, we understand these challenges deeply, and we provide a business management software, which is a single source of truth designed to cover the complete life cycle of our renewable energy asset and to centralize, standardize, link, and simplify the access to this data, breaking down the barriers between these data silos. And this, just to finish, allows asset manager teams to focus on what truly adds value to the business, rather than spending their time retrieving and piecing together data from disparate sources.
Thank you, Ricardo. The renewable energy landscape continues to grow increasingly complex year over year. Storage capacity has grown more than tenfold since 2020 alone, almost universally driven by lithium-ion battery technology. Hybrid solar and storage projects make up an increasingly large share of the interconnection queue, growing roughly fivefold since 2020. Additionally, new technologies like EV charging and green hydrogen are becoming more attractive and being added to portfolios. All this while legacy systems installed over the past 10 plus years will continue to operate for 15 years or more. Ricardo, can you speak a bit to the challenges that MN8 has faced in managing the performance of an increasingly large, complex, and diverse portfolio?
Absolutely. And Ethan, thank you for the welcome, and excited to be here. So certainly recognize and understand those challenges of managing, at scale, right? Just for reference, our portfolio is approaching 3 gigawatts on over 900 assets across 29 states in the United States. And to your point, we have vintages anywhere from 2010 CODs to 2024 CODs, right? And we all know how the industry has evolved, both in terms of technology, data acquisition systems, et cetera. So certainly a challenge. I will say that technology-wise, in our case, I think Alejandro alluded to this, but increasingly, I think, whether you're an IPP, whether you're an investor, increasingly, we all are really diversifying the technologies in our portfolio. And so it's critical that we can, not only manage the data, but be able to aggregate that data and be able to get insights off of the data, understanding different nuances in technology. But there's still some fundamentals that I think, apply really across technology. So in our case, we're looking, we have PV assets, we have BESS standalone assets, we have, hybrid assets or co-located assets where you have a battery with a solar system, and you want to make sure that you're getting data from both independently, but also in some cases combined type KPIs, which presents in itself, a challenge, right? So you want to have, that's when, when we started this in 2018, very small group, right? Five people or so, we very quickly recognized that throwing people at this was not the solution, right? It was systems. And it's not only for the obvious, right? They're, from a resource and cost perspective, it's just completely inefficient to just throw people at this type of problem. But also, if we wanted to deliver results to the company, to our investors, we knew that we have to manage these assets and be a best-in-class operator, right? And the way to do that is by making sure that we can ingest all this data, that we're getting from our sites. And I think, as Andrew well said, it's not just having the data, it's how does your team can digest that data quickly, get insights, and then drive that action down to the projects, right, where the magic happens. So for us, also a core tenet as we started this project was the single source of truth concept, which everybody talks about, but until you live it, you get to understand it, right? And for us, it was critical that knowing, or at that point expecting or hoping that we were going to grow enough as we are today, or 400 employees, 3 gigawatts, that we would need to be able to really have a very solid system that could allow us to manage this data, have one single source of truth, not just for operations, not just for the financial team, but really for the company, really, because that's as we've grown, and whether it's new technologies or new financings, really the entire ecosystem, right, within our company that our company operates within, it has to be the same one. We cannot have our financial team pulling metadata from our assets at, say, capacity to report internally or even to the public if you're a public company, and then have our technical team generating estimates off of different capacities or megawatt counts. I think those are some of the things that I think about, when we started this and putting ourselves now here in the future. I think those have been the key considerations for us.
Thank you, Ricardo. That's some great insight. Alejandro, do you have anything to add to Ricardo's comments, maybe specifically about how QBI helps manage the vast quantities of data and the differing standards of data coming into the platform?
So one of the most important aspects to highlight here about QBI is that we are not just technologists. We are native of the renewable energy sector. Typically, when a company looks to address a problem, as the problems that Ricardo were facing, a problem through technology, like dealing with different energy production technologies or SCADA system or changing data granularities or whatever, they usually find a technology implementer. And these implementers are often technical gurus with a deep knowledge and understanding of databases and business intelligence, AI, big data, or whatever. However, they generally need to be educated about your business specifics, okay? Your use cases, pain points, how your essential KPIs are calculated, and the details that accompany them, because at the end, the devil is always on the details. And that is why many of these kind of projects fail or take more time than expected or require to dedicate many internal resource and dedication to it. This is where QBI stands apart. Having originated from within the renewable energy sector, we are intimately familiar with the challenge that our customers face because we have already encountered and fight them with these very issues by ourselves. This deep industry knowledge allows us to not only understand our clients' problems, but also to challenge their current methods. Okay, we often propose alternative approaches to achieve the desired outcome or suggest best practices that they might not have considered.
So I guess it would be fair to say then that any company utilizing QBI Technologies business management solutions would be immediately able to gain from the expertise and the experience that QBI's founders originally brought in when they built the platform back in 2017. So with the rapid growth in renewable energy and increased diversification and complexity of portfolios, staffing is increasingly becoming more and more challenging. And it's becoming more critical to quickly bring new team members up to speed. Ricardo, perhaps you can discuss some of the challenges you face when onboarding new talent, in particular ensuring that they can rapidly come up to speed within your asset management organization. And how does this differ a little bit between perhaps bringing in more experienced versus more junior talent?
Yeah, no, it's a great question, Ethan. Saying that it's a challenge is an understatement. Obviously, it is an industry that is rapidly growing, which is good for all of us, but it does come with some challenges in terms of recruiting talent, and particularly if you have to recruit talent relatively quickly, right? So, and our company like ours, where our asset management team is approaching 30 people. You can imagine we've recruited some people that are very senior, some people that had no experience, really had graduated recently from school, and anywhere in between, right? So I think one of the key things for us is how do we make sure that transfer of information, whether it's a new resource that we're bringing into the company, or what often happens, I think, for many companies, which is as you grow, or you restructure your teams and you structure the ownership of the portfolios that your asset managers are managing, right? This is very normal, as much continuity as we'd like in some of these portfolios. You want your people to grow, to develop, they become managers, they have teams. And so even the transition of portfolios internally, which is thankfully because we're growing, it's sort of a constant for us every year to some degree. It's critical that transfer of information goes as seamless as possible, right? And that's where having a single source of truth, a location where we're not, having different locations for documentation, different location for your financial, different location for performance data, which often we're talking about multiple DAS systems, right? And it's not even one location for some of that technical data. Your historical reporting, is that in a VDR? Is that somewhere else? Compliance management, right? How do you manage your compliance, right? Where do you make sure that you deliver reporting to your tax equity investors, to the local authorities or HJs, any reporting you have to do. I think for us, it's been really helpful to have kind of that centralized platform where we are really, in some cases, just to give you maybe some insights and examples, I know we track our compliance management within QBI, and one of the things we do is it's as simple as changing the owner, right? And because once you have this set up, all you're doing is changing the ownership, and if you have them immortalized there, you can link that with the assets and some of the other data. And I think for us, it's been very, very, very helpful.
Thank you, Ricardo. Out of curiosity, how much bigger would your team have to be if you, say, didn't have QBI solutions in place and were using a combination of spreadsheets and other non-renewable energy specific tools?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's a future that I don't want to envision. I easily 1.5, 2 times, Ethan. I frankly, in some cases, it's hard to imagine it because we were thinking about this from day one. I probably wouldn't be here. I'll say that.
So it helps not only onboard new talent, more junior talent, but helps retain some of the senior talent and keep them from, say, ripping all of their hair out.
Yeah, and to us also, listen, we want to put people in position to succeed, right? Whether you just started with us, right, and you've had no experience, and obviously there's a lot of training involved, but we want to give folks the tool sets to be able to get up to speed themselves as well, right? And again, having kind of that centralized source of information and data quality, accuracy, right? Historical reporting, performance, all that, information around compliance. And one thing is to have a new joiner read through contracts and extract everything they need to extract from a contract. But listen, if somebody's done that before and we've documented properly within the platform, then it becomes a lot easier, right? We put these people in position to succeed, focus on what we want them to focus, which is actually the performance of the assets, right? And of course, compliance and whatnot, but not basically starting over every time we have a change in personnel, or again, we move somebody from one position to another.
Thank you. That's incredibly insightful. Alejandro, I'd like to give you maybe the opportunity to weigh in here a little bit. Can you talk a little bit about how your past experience aligned with what Ricardo's sharing with us, and how this maybe steered the direction of the development of the QBI platform?
Sure. Thank you, first of all, Ricardo, for sharing those insights. Indeed, the rapid evolution and diversification of the renewable energy sector presents unique challenges, especially when it comes to hiring and onboarding new talent, whether experienced or junior, doesn't matter. At QBI, we have recognized that the variance in the maturity and workflow standardization across the industry can significantly impact how quickly new team members become productive. One of the foundational goals when developing QBI was to create a tool that not only served as a repository of data and processes, but a system that also make easier to onboard new hires by having processes that are digitalized, standardized, and integrated within our platform. New team members find a clear roadmap of their responsibilities and the workflows they need to engage with. Okay, so this standardization plays a critical role in reducing the ramp-up time for new employees. For instance, just to give you a couple of quick examples, okay? In our platform, you can define templates of tasks depending on different attributes of the asset. So that way, an asset manager that creates a new asset will find different tasks to do. If he or she creates a wind farm in Florida in the US, then a PV plant with batteries in Barcelona, Spain. Documentation, permits, or relevant dates will be different, and even the data field requested by the system in the forms will be also different. Another example could be, for instance, the ability to show role-specific dashboards. Those provide insights tailored to the specific needs and functions on the different roles within our organization, whether it's a junior manager, a senior manager needing high-level KPIs for data, for the whole multi-technology portfolio, or a technician looking for detailed operational data in a specific asset. The information is presented in a comprehensive and actionable format. And of course, all of this can be supported by trainings or the customer success team, but it's important to have this single source of truth software adapted to these matters to make people onboarding smoother and reduce dependency on other team members for this basic training, if you want. In essence, QBI is designed not just to manage assets, but to enhance the human element of asset management. This approach not only support rapid scaling, but also help to introduce a culture of best practices across the organization, which is essential as the sector continues to grow and evolve.
Great. That's some great insight. Thank you very much. So it sounds like it's critical that a robust set of standards and best practices in place to ensure success within an asset management organization, both when onboarding new talent as well as when transitioning projects and portfolios from one team or individual to another. I'd like to explore a little bit how digitalization can help drive the implementation and adherence of these standards and best practices. Ricardo, could you perhaps share a little bit of your experience from using the QBI platform and implementing these standards and best practices within the MN8 organization?
Yeah, absolutely, Ethan. Listen, the first thing I'll say is any platform can solve for so much, right? I think one of the other thing is that there has to be an organizational commitment to have dedicated the resources, the time to properly set up and onboard any projects on any platform, right? I think that's certainly goes hand in hand with having the right platform to then continue to manage your assets from there on. So we've been very deliberate in that. We actually have an onboarding team, right? We have like literally 3 people on that team. That is what they do, right? They make sure that the data is right and correct. But in terms of standardization, I mean, to your earlier point, I mean, we've been able to, through some of the flexibility that QBI has, right? Which, one thing is standardizing, but also because of the nature of the different types of technologies that we have in our portfolio, we do have to have some flexibility in terms of how some of these KPIs are calculated, how the data is managed. Sometimes it's different data. We have been able to standardize a lot of our, for example, technical reporting. So we don't look at best sites differently than we look at PV sites. Clearly, there's different KPIs and there are different types of assets, but they're customized enough where we can still leverage some of the same tools, some of the same dashboards to be able to gain insights into those projects. On the compliance piece, right? I think one of the most powerful things there for us is that once those are properly onboarded, not only does that help, like I said, in terms of transitioning internally or for new resources to make sure there's no gaps there, but it also provides for we want to, like I said before, we want to put our people in positions to succeed and give them the right tool sets, but at the same time, we need to drive accountability. It's important that these tasks take place. And one of the things we like about the QBI platform is that we can generate, whether it's management type reporting or consolidated reporting about task compliance, which tasks are on time, which tasks are overdue, and allows us to gain insights as well on are we compliant ourselves, right, in meeting those requirements. And at the same time, just making sure once you're using not an Excel sheet or your inbox, right, to manage some of these things, you get the full history, full record. So we can go back in history when we have perhaps a dispute of whether a report was delivered or not, or what was the content of that report. We could leverage that platform to go back to that task for that quarter that we submitted that report, open the report that's attached to that compliance, and really be able to actually know exactly what was submitted and some of the rationale there. So I think those are some of the things that come to mind for me. I think the other thing in terms of standardization is that one of kind of our core tenets as well when we started is that, listen, we recognize these are power generating assets, and there's a lot of technical nuance and details and relevancy and KPIs that we need to track, right? That's clear, but we needed to find a way to make sure that we link that technical performance with the financial performance, right? So, for example, something we're doing in QBI is looking at losses not only on a megawatt hour basis, but in what really matters, which is dollars, right? So trying to transition those megawatts into dollars, right? It allows us to prioritize things differently, maybe think about the world a little bit differently, as well as having our P&L for our operating portfolio within QBI and being able to leverage some of those, tool sets like Power BI, et cetera, and be able to drill. I could look at a very high level for the P&L, but if I really wanted to drill down, it's very intuitive, very simple for me to do that. When we started, this project, we necessarily didn't have that, and it was extremely hard because what it took is multiple Excels, because one Excel could not hold all the data, and people were doing different types of tables, some of which I may like, but you may not like, and you could only drill so deep until you got another Excel that had the information. So just purely from an efficiency perspective, I think it's been greatly helpful, and I think adoption is kind of one of the main metrics that speak to this, because I know I personally use it, and I think my team believes it, recognizes that, but I know the team heavily leverages this tool on a day-to-day basis, not only internally but also externally, right? This is the same tool we leverage with our third-party O&M providers, as an example. We're looking at the same dashboards, same KPIs, to again try to ultimately improve or maximize the performance of our assets.
Thanks, Ricardo. And you said something that was interesting that I just wanted to reiterate is it's critical not just to be able to implement standards and best practices, but to be able to ensure adherence to those best practices as well. And by having full auditability, being able to go back into the platform and see, did somebody check off a task? Did somebody open a document, edit it, sign it, etc.? And just simply having, say, a task list isn't enough if you can't also ensure that people are complying to those timelines, complying to those requirements. Alejandro, I'm sure you have some additional insight to share from your prior experience, in particular, how that experience kind of informed the development of the QBI platform, and how our customers can leverage your prior experience and the experience of the rest of the QBI team within QBI itself.
Well, from my previous experience at Sun Edison, we were managing a highly heterogeneous portfolio of more than 8 gigawatt at that time, including solar PV and utility scale, commercial, also residential, wind assets, and even some hydroelectric projects at that time. I witnessed it firsthand, the challenges of not having this centralized system. Okay, so for example, compiling a report that blended technical performance data with financial or accounting information, and maybe even market prices, used to take a huge amount of time. Almost 90% of our time was spent just gathering and merging this data, leaving only the 10% for actually analytics and strategic decision making. This experience was one of the core motivations behind founding QBI. We aim to flip those percentages by automating the ingestion, standardization, and relationship of data, allowing teams to dedicate time to what truly matters, what truly adds value. Another significant challenge was as Ricardo mentioned, the handover between departments or different teams. For instance, we worked closely at that time with asset management team, with asset managers, and we saw that because the system used for collecting information in the previous phase by the product development team were different from those used in asset management, a substantial amount of information had to be re-onboarded when an asset transitioned from development to the operational status. And that is why another pillar of QBI software is to support the entire life cycle of an asset, incorporating controls, alerts about missing information, and of course, workflows reflecting the best practices. And this facilitates tremendously the handovers between teams. Moreover, ensuring the data quality is also critical in the field. For instance, with the technical data in the field, gaps or communication issues or erroneous data coming from sensors or devices can completely break a crucial KPI for the business. And that is why we put a lot of effort into our data quality processes, using, on one hand, automatic algorithms to handle most of the data issues, but also providing tools that allow taking manual decisions or adjustment on the data when necessary.
And just to clarify as well, Alejandro, when you talk about data quality, we talked a little bit about auditability earlier as far as workflows and best practices. It's not only critical to have that data quality in place, but also to be able to go back and track where that data has been adjusted, be able to see those original values or where those null values previously existed, and be able to see how that data was adjusted and corrected so that you can ensure that those corrections were done correctly.
Exactly. That's what we do in these terms. We always keep the raw value or the original value coming from the devices, what rule has been applied, so how the data has been modified, if have been modified, and then what is the final value or the predicted value or whatever. Yeah.
Thank you. So we've talked a bit about standardization across an entire organization, because asset managers must work across every department to achieve organizational goals, not just within their own silo. How does a complete business management solution help ensure success across a renewable energy enterprise? Ricardo, would you like to weigh in on this?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I'm glad you mentioned this, because I think we've probably been very focused on asset management, but this is for us a business management tool, right? We don't just do asset management, right? We have a construction team, we have a development team, and many others, right, that are intimately participating and involved in the platform on a day-to-day basis. So like Alejandro said, one of the more critical parts for us is ensuring that those handoffs, which occur, you're talking about multiple handoffs for a given project, from the origination team to the development team, often from the development team to the construction team, and then to the asset management team, right? That having that, being able to standardize and leverage QBI's functionalities to manage that whole workflow from each one to the other. For example, defining what are the minimum mandatory fields that need to be part of that handoff, right? And that those are all fields that are in QBI, and QBI allows us to make sure that those are filled. And the auditability, whether they're complete or not, right? We can generate reporting that tells you, okay, this minimum mandatory fields have been filled, these ones have not, just as an example, right? So I think the handoff process for us has been critical, and I think we all probably would recognize that when you do have breaks in that handoff process, those typically lead to problems at some point in time, and those problems typically mean delays or cost impacts, right, or some sort of financial impact. So for us, it's a big part of what we do to, again, manage not just asset management but our business, right? Where we put together reporting, right? Our treasury and financial FP&A teams, the data they leverage is data from some of the tools that QBI has available to it, right? QBI has the or what at least I still call loops, which are Excel sheets that are connected to the database, that it just provides huge, a very powerful set of data that they can leverage, making sure it's real time. when we're doing financing, just as an example as well, like the financings are not just numbers. There are, details. There are the assets, there's due diligence involved. There's many, many things where being able to leverage the tool set from a business perspective ensures that we're providing the right data and that we don't need to engage all these different groups to provide this data. This data is in the platform and they know how to access that data, right? They know how to make sure that it's latest and greatest. And to the earlier point about, auditing the data, I think one of the most powerful things for us is that, we can go in and literally for every field, right, as far as your metadata, when it was changed and who changed it. That is very powerful, right? Because it may give you insights on, hey, this hasn't been updated for a year. We maybe should think about updating it, right? Why? Because our FP&A team is using, the commercial operations data, perhaps of our pipeline, to estimate our revenues for the next 5 years, right? This is very real. This is what we do every year, right? And so, those are some examples of I think how we think about it beyond an asset management tool, more as a business management tool set.
Thanks, Ricardo. Out of curiosity, is there a department within MN8 that doesn't touch QBI?
The fact that I'm thinking about it is probably a good thing. Not that I can think of. I mean, probably groups like HR use it on a limited basis,
yeah.
but that's probably a stretch there to scope them in. But not that I can think of. I mean, you're talking, construction, development, EHS, all the financial teams, right? You're talking anywhere from accounting to FP&A to treasury. I know for a fact they use it. Development, obviously, our CEO gets reporting from QBI, and yeah, I think that's the toughest question you've asked so far, I think.
So truly, it's being utilized as a comprehensive business management platform, not just asset management. Alejandro, sorry, I think I cut you off just a little bit there.
No, don't worry. No, I was only supporting what Ricardo was saying. Maybe HR, and that's the one of the departments that are not using QBI.
So a note for our roadmap then. So I guess, Alejandro, maybe you have some additional insights here. I know you've been working with our customer base to develop the platform and tailor it to their needs over the past 7-8 years here. What can you add? What additional insights do you have from your work over the years as far as tailoring QBI to their needs?
Okay, well, we already have touched on many key features, but I like to emphasize particularly the importance of flexibility. Ricardo already named this in this kind of platforms, okay? In the renewable energy sector, which is, as we already said, a highly dynamic sector in terms of both technology and regulations, and where players might cover different extents on the asset management on the asset life cycle. So Ricardo said that they are doing development, construction, also asset management, but there are other players focused on pure asset management or pure development. So you have different approaches, okay, to that. So it's crucial that our solution can adapt to diverse organizational needs and different regulatory environments. When we started QBI, we knew that flexibility and customization had to be central features of our software. This approach allows us to our clients to quickly adapt to changes and operate effectively across different countries and different and changing technologies. Well, just to finish, I would like to highlight once again the significance, the importance of the data model. Okay, the logic on the relationship and the intelligence embedded in the model. Because this is crucial. It sets the groundwork for subsequently applying new technologies, like the one that I think everyone is in everyone's lips today, AI, artificial intelligence. At QBI, for instance, we are currently starting to work in a project to classify and extract the most relevant information from documents using AI. This involves identifying key dates, involved parties, scope, and more directly from the document. And also automatically organize that document in the correct path on the defined folder structure that the company had. By embedding QBI into our platform, we will boost efficiency and the strategic value that we provide to our customers. But in order to do that, you need to have crystal clear what we said before: data, relationship, logics, and so on.
Thank you. Thank you. This is all incredible information and insight into business management in general within the renewable energy industry, and the importance of having a software partner that can meet the complete needs of your organization, both today as well as you grow your organization and expand into new markets and new technologies. I'd like to take a few minutes to answer some of the questions. We've got a few questions here from our audience. First up, I've got a question. Are PMP, project management principles and methodologies, utilized in your software? Alejandro, maybe you'd like to take the first crack at that?
Well, you can, in QBI, you can define all that workflow that the project management people, the project management team or the PMP are utilizing on their day-to-day. You can translate that into QBI. Okay, so you can follow all the, as we said, all the different tasks that are not only recurrent tasks or tasks that you need to do once when you're onboarding a project, but tasks that are, of course, related, that has dependencies and so on. So you can apply those best practices if you want to your day-to-day work, or to, for instance, this is used a lot for the construction teams or the development teams.
Thank you. Ricardo, anything to add on that topic?
No, I think that's similar to, I think, our use case. Certainly, I mean, there's, you look at construction on the, project management, there's so many other tool sets and specialized, whether, some very sophisticated scheduling or work tracking. I mean, that's not something we would do in QBI, but I think, just the tracking of the overall projects, right? That's where it lives, whether it's dates, milestones, payments, any relevant information, documentation, reporting. That's where it starts for us.
Yeah, just to add something, one of the, because we found this in many customers, many potential customers. One of the cool things for QBI is that you need to see us as the umbrella on top of the other systems. Okay, so as Ricardo said, maybe if you are completely focused or you are driving the construction, even you are the EPC guy, you're not using QBI for that. Of course, you have tools that are completely specific to do that and are doing amazing things, with the controlling the budget of a project and the dependencies of the task and so on. But you will use QBI to connect to that system and to put together that information with the rest of the information that you have in the company. And that is what it's meant to be, QBI. Okay, so if you are really, you like a lot one of the tools that you are using, you don't need to change that tool. We can connect to that tool, and you take advantage of the rest of the data that you have.
I think that's a great point. Thank you, Alejandro. Is that QBI really, even if it can't directly address the specific and nuanced need, it can at least ensure that there is that you're eliminating any silos, informational silos, by plugging those specific and nuanced tools into the broader QBI environment and being able to pull information and data in from those other tools that you're using for more specific and specialized purposes there.
And Ethan, maybe a quick data point to add to Alejandro is that, we have bought a number of assets, or a lot of assets really, from third parties that were already operational. So they had, probably over 5, 6, 7 different data acquisition systems, different vintages of such systems. And not once have we had an issue integrating, right? It's a matter of connecting and getting the data from one to the other, but we haven't had to replace hardware because QBI can't integrate. It's always been very seamless, which is why we constantly go back to integrate all the projects into the platform here. So
Yeah, and having spent a number of years working with customers on potential rip and replace solutions or adapting existing equipment to pull data out of legacy DAS systems, I know firsthand how difficult that can be. And so it's I didn't realize that you've never not once had to replace a system. That's impressive.
I mean, we've replaced them, but it's just not QBI's fault. so we bought some really old equipment that we certainly have replaced, but it hasn't been through QBI driving the requirement. So we really appreciate the flexibility, multiple SCADAs, multiple types of data systems to be able to do that. So.
Fantastic. Well, we've got another question since we're talking a little bit about onboarding projects. I'm going to pivot just for a brief moment. There's a question about how digitization and standardization facilitate quicker onboarding of new talent. Can either of the two of you provide? Can you elaborate more could you elaborate on that topic on specific tools or processes that aid in that acceleration?
Absolutely. I'll be happy to elaborate on how our platform facilitates quicker onboarding for new talent and so on. One clear example that I already named, but I can go a bit deeper if you want, is related to the management of tasks. Okay, what can be one-off task or recurrent task that an asset manager must handle when onboarding a new asset, for instance. At QBI, we employ a system where these tasks and workflows are generated automatically using customized templates. But these templates are tailored not only to the type of asset, like solar, wind, or storage, or whatever, but also to its location, its size, or any other specific attribute of the project, for instance. The system might automatically generate tests to check that all necessary documentation is in place, set reminders for contract renewals, upload certain information to a specific system, or notify relevant stakeholders. This automation is crucial because it guides the new asset manager through his responsibilities without the need for a colleague to manually explain what needs to be done and when. And by automating these initial steps, we significantly reduce the time it takes for a new employee to become effective and confident in their new role. And this not only speed up the process, but also ensures that no critical steps are overlooked. Okay, which can be often happen if manual transfers, as Ricardo said before, if you are doing a manual transfer of responsibilities. Moreover, these automated workflows can be easily adjusted as the needs of the project or the organization or the market evolve, providing ongoing support and adaptation to the user needs. Okay, this level of guidance is a prime example of how digitalization and not only simplifies but accelerates the onboarding process, allowing new hires to contribute to their teams from the beginning. And additionally, having all the relevant information we have said before accessible through a single and centralized platform eases the onboarding process in other ways. And new users can easily find what they are looking for without having to navigate through multiple systems or databases and so on. In this, centralized access not only saves time, but also reduces the learning curve of the associated with the new roles and new jobs, further facilitating rapid integration and productivity.
Thank you, Alejandro. Ricardo, do you have anything to add on that topic?
Yeah, I think Alejandro said most of it, but I do want to emphasize also that it does ensure that there are no misses, right? An asset manager in day one, right, just by changing from asset manager, the owner of that set of tasks for a given project, from asset manager 1 to asset management 2, that person immediately knows everything that they need to do and when and how, because the reports are there. There's explanations of what needs to be done exactly. That month, that quarter, that year, they immediately know, right? So I think what it helps is, and certainly, onboarding of new employees is a broader concept, right? You as a company need to have, make sure you're proper onboarding, and it still relies to some extent on people. Those managers will also have to sit down or former portfolio managers will have to sit down with those folks and help them out. But I think what it facilitates is them being able to ask the right questions and not be completely lost on day one, right? These people will know, hey, I saw in QBI that I have to deliver this report by the end of the quarter. It says X, Y, or Z. It says I'm delivering to this person. It says this is the type of report. Can we talk about it and the content? How do we think about that? I think it just streamlines a lot of the conversations and people getting up to speed quicker, which, listen, naturally, as people get up to speed, there could be gaps, there's things that they don't understand, but I think what this kind of short circuit that process greatly for us.
Great, thank you, Ricardo. We've got another question here about ESG, environment, social, and governance. Does QBI have any specific experience in enhancing ESG for your clients? Perhaps, Alejandro, you can take a few minutes and address how ESG can be managed through the QBI platform.
Sorry, I was mute. We know that this is becoming more and more important because our customers are telling us every day that ESG now is a big topic and really really important. We addressing that issue or that how you manage that. Given the user the ability to create, of course, and to manage all the database of incidents inside the tool, any incident that you have, I don't know, dangerous occurrence or anything that happens in the project, we provide reporting through those incidents and linking with what I say about the task. You can link also the task to the incident, so you know what process needs to be followed when something happened, some incident happened. And we're also working with some customers connecting to other tools that are more decarbonization measures and all this stuff to complete the data set to be able to report and create dashboards and so on those matters.
Ricardo, is that from your experience, is that something that you're utilizing within the QBI platform?
Yeah, I would say, listen, and I'm certainly not our ESG expert here, but some of the data I know for a fact that, again, it comes back to the single source of truth. Some of this data that lives there, particularly metadata, it's something that we use to report, including ESG reporting. So even that team, I know for a fact that leverages the tool set. And I think one of the cooler things we can do with QBI is you can really customize for reporting and the types of reporting, whether it's a cube type, very flexible type of spreadsheet connected to the database, all the way to a static report, BI dashboard. So it's very much customized. So I do know for a fact that that team uses it to keep track of our metadata as well.
So it sounds like maybe HR is actually involved in QBI a little bit. I think we have time for one more question, and we've got a good one here. How does QBI help manage and integrate multiple systems, both physical and software infrastructure from different regions and different regional stakeholders? Ricardo, maybe you'd like to take first swing at this one.
I'm trying to, can you restate the question? I'm just, you said physical and digital, and I'm just trying to understand the question here.
Yeah, sorry, maybe I'm also trying to understand the question here. How are we to manage and integrate the multiple systems of physical and software infrastructure from intra and inter-regional stakeholders is the question on here.
Okay, I'll give it a shot. So listen, we definitely are integrating assets across many regions. We're in 29 states, multiple, obviously, ISOs and electrical regions. I think one of the things, just starting maybe at the physical asset level, I mean, we not all assets are simple and cookie cutter where you have one meter and one inverter and one net station, right? I think we have different types of assets, from those very simple assets to assets that have, upwards of 8 meters, they have a main meter, they have 8 meters and, maybe thousands of string inverters behind those meters. So I think we can go, I think we've seen the flexibility to be able to manage and have insights, right, on multiple levels for those very complex projects, but at the same time do the same for utility scale assets across, again, multiple regions, where utility scale assets, you perhaps have, less quote unquote assets where you're getting data from, but you're getting much more data from them, perhaps, where you're getting a number of data points, for example, register data points from these inverters that are very relevant, like inverter temperatures, and as well as, once you get into utility space, and this is at times region specific, right? DOTs are set points from the market, for example. And one of the things that we've been able to do is not only be able to integrate those within the platform, right? The actual operational targets or set points that we're getting for the facility, but also then be able to estimate curtailment, right? And how much of that curtailment is reimbursed, because we're able to tap into Kaiso's API, for example, pull, some other their forecast data, for example, that we can compare then with, our essentially calculator deemed delivered energy, allowing us to estimate that within the platform, right? So right there, that allows us to have accurate KPIs for an asset where otherwise, if we don't have that integration, which to some extent obviously is region specific, we'd be, in this case, understating the performance of the asset, because we may have a lot of that curtailment that is reimbursed. And having the ability to do that, I think it's for us critical, frankly, because otherwise what literally would happen is that somebody else has to go into a different platform, bring out an Excel sheet, do a calculation, and somehow add it back to the KPIs that we're getting from QBI, which is not a great way or a sustainable, scalable way of doing things.
Absolutely, and that's some great insight. Alejandro, you could maybe talk a little bit for the last couple of minutes that we have free here. A subject that I think parallels with this question is how does a company manage a very complex subsidiary and portfolio structure within QBI, where they may have multiple different subsidiary organizations all within one umbrella organization? And how does QBI help an organization manage that and report on that?
Sure. Well, at the end, we are giving the users the opportunity to create directly all the dependencies between the companies, with the SPVs to the holders, to the GILCOs, et cetera. As I said before, one of the most important part is the data model. So we have everything related. We have the SPV related with the particular project, but through the meter, which is really important, because other softwares doesn't allow are relating the SPV or the company directly with the project, which is and then, as Ricardo said, you can find the projects where you have more than one meter. You have 15 meters or 10 meters, and each of the meters is selling the energy through a different SPV. So you need to relate, the SPV via the meter to the project, and that allows us to get information for the company, which is the technical information coming from the meter, the production, et cetera. So you can have that into account when you get the financial data and cross the financial data with the technical one. You can give insights to each of the levels, to the SPV level, to the holdco level, that you can aggregate, all the knowledge that you are getting in the top, in the lowest part to the upper part.
Thank you. That was very informative, Alejandro. I want to thank you, all of you folks, very much for joining us today. We're just about at time here, so we are going to wrap it up. We hope you found this session informative and helpful. Of course, we would be more than happy to work with any of you and explore further the possibility of QBI solutions and what it can do for you and your organization. We will be sending out a follow-up email with a link to the recording and answers to additional questions we may not have been able to address during our time here. If you do have any additional questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to us to schedule a demo or have a quick exploratory call. And of course, QBI will be at Intersolar Munich coming up here in June. Please feel free to stop by our booth or schedule the demo in advance via our website or reaching out to us directly. Thank you again, Ricardo. Thank you again, Alejandro, for your valuable time and insight today. And thank you for everybody who has attended this webinar. We appreciate your interest, and we hope to be hearing from you all soon. Have a great day, everybody.